My name is Nikki Wendell, and I am one of the curators here for the Chapel Gallery, and it is a tremendous pleasure to be able to welcome Denise Tierney from Nanaimo to show her very beautiful and emotive works. So Denise is a full-time artist practicing out of the Pentimenti studio in Nanaimo. She uses a wide range of media, including oils, acrylic, wax, wood, metal, clay, and repurposed objects to produce both two-dimensional and sculptural works. She holds a BA in Visual Arts from Vancouver Island University in Nanaimo and is currently represented at the newly opened Gallery Merrick in Victoria. This show, titled Recollection, is rooted in identity and memory. On entering the gallery this evening, you will be treated to a variety of visual happenings, painted moments in time marking life events. Some of these events are solitary moments of reverie, where the viewer is invited to imagine what preceded and what might follow the portrayed moment. Other images invite us to journey down memory lane, remembering similar memories, moments of our lives. Denise's work is a study in nostalgia, an intimate look at life and personalities. Her characters are poised, ready to tell their story. However, it is up to the viewer to carry on the narrative. The joyful, chaotic birthday party scenes are familiar moments for most of us. I suspect many of us can see our own family members in these delightfully sensitive, evocative paintings. I wonder how many people will recognize Grandma, the matriarch, with her fascinating stories, her penchant for discipline, along with her precious words of wisdom. And on that note, I'd like to introduce Denise Tierney to tell us all about her work.
Thanks, Nikki. I think you took some words right out of my mouth, so I'm going to have to think of some new words. Thanks everyone for coming tonight. A lot of you came from a long way away, and Port Alberni, and Ladysmith, and Nanaimo, and so thanks a lot for coming. That means a lot to me. And I'd also like to thank Chapel Gallery. This is such a beautiful venue, and that's available to artists. It's Nikki's team is just a dream to work with. They're organized and they want what's best for the artist, and so it's been really easy for me. And we hung the show yesterday, and it was a lot of fun. And anyway, thanks Nikki and team. So yeah, okay, I'll kind of start off with the title of the exhibition, and that's Recollection. And that word, I picked that word because it kind of means three things to me. So recollection, thinking back in time to days gone by, and so obviously the work in there is nostalgic. It would remind us of our aunties or our grandmas. There's a subword called subword collection in recollection, and that subword, well, there's a collection of art in there, so it's meaningful that way, but collecting is something that I think we humans used to do a lot more of in the past. So I'm thinking of the Victorian era. We used to collect stamps and butterflies and shells, and it was a pastime that people really got into. And I think people still collect now, but it's just not in that formal way, or it doesn't feel to me that it's in that formal way. And the third reason I picked the title is it's got kind of an old-timey feel to it, so like I don't rightly recollect, and I think that also is meaningful to the nostalgia nod here. Let's see if I can get this working. So a little bit about my practice. Like Nikki said, I work out of my studio in Nanaimo, Pentimenti Art Studio, and I show up most days. I don't always produce. In fact, if you were to count the number of days that you are there and the number of days producing, I would probably be like that, but there's still work being done, and the work is here, or visiting with other artists and talking about stuff that, you know, we're struggling with, or it's important to us. Research, I do a lot of research, just hanging out in my happy place. And as the slide says, I create a lot of figurative work. You'll see it there. I think there's only 2 pieces that are just representational and not of humans. And I do that because it doesn't ever get old. Like, people are really interesting, and they just do curious things over the years. And yeah, I could paint forever and never get bored of my subject matter. So a lot of people ask me, particularly non-artist people, like, how do you get your ideas, and how do you kind of stay motivated or whatever? And so I thought I'd talk a little bit about that. I'm going to lead off with this quote that I heard a little while ago that I just thought, that's gold. I'll read it. Well, I guess you can read it, but it's a quote by Ethan Coen, and he's of the Coen brothers that are responsible for a number of popular movies, and one of them that comes to mind to me is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And they're just like quirky and interesting movies, so he's kind of got this eye that fascinates me. But anyway, this quote, people think it's all about, now he's talking about his occupation, which is movies, but I equate this to my occupation. It's like self-expression or something, but it's not about that. You do it because it's involving and stimulating, and you like the process of doing it. And so that nails it, that quote for me. I love the doing, the making, the building, the figuring out, the carving, the slicing, the dicing, the attaching, you know, the wet paint, the dry paint. I really love that stuff, and like, I hope in the end that I have something to show for it, but not always. And we all hope for that, all of us artists, but if I don't get that, I still have that process that is probably why I do what I do. So that's one aspect of motivation for me, and the other aspect is the emotional part, where you get an intensity of feeling about things that, well, I get an intensity of feeling about things that I see or hear or experience in some way. And the one thing that I think about is like skin tingles. You know, when your skin all kind of tingles, and back of your neck, and I thought that everyone had this, and probably a lot of people do, but not all people do. So I kind of thought, well, that's worth exploring too. But when I was a kid, I used to get it all the time. Like, when people would talk a certain way, they would have a certain cadence in their voice, a certain tone, and I just crawling, and I used to call it rising, and I don't know why. But the other term for this experience is aesthetic shows, or frisson. So for me, art is this kind of vessel for packaging up this intensity of feeling. And if I describe it, it seems to diminish the intensity, but if I try and take it into the work, well, I don't know if it does anything to the viewer, but it does something to me. So yeah, so those are 2 things that keep me going and keep me really motivated. And then as far as inspiration, well, just walking on this earth is inspiration. Everyone's got a story to tell. Everyone's got an experience that I like to listen to, and I like the weird stuff. So I like to look underneath the carpet and just see things from a different perspective. And so I kind of like try and take that into the work too, Yeah. Go on to the next slide, because the next slide encapsulates what I'm just trying to say here. So, this photo of a painting, when I saw this, it really, really impacted me. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this painting. So on your left is Chevalier St. George. So this guy was a master at everything he took on. He was just the best of the best in France. He was, his father was French and his mother was not, so he was mixed race. And so for him to accomplish all he did at that time was kind of a big deal. The problem that he had, though, is that as he continued to try and be better and better and better at things, he was always thwarted because of his mixed race. So I thought that story was really interesting, and he was so accomplished at composing. Like, they used to compare him to Mozart, so he was like a big deal in his time. And the person on the right is Chevalier Dion, a French diplomat, spy, soldier. He's got this little ribbon on his chest, little red ribbon, which is a very prestigious award, military award, the Croix de Saint-Louis. So these guys are accomplishing big things, but there they are in this opulent environment. They're fencing, and one's wearing a gown, and the one is very young, and one's very old. They're both holding up their end of the duel, it appears to me, and people are in all their finery and they're watching. When I saw this, I just thought, it doesn't get any better than that. Like, I think that it's such a curious painting. So why am I bringing this up? Well, because it gave me this very strong emotion, a very strong feeling, and I don't know what I'll do with that, but I'll probably tuck it into my pocket, and maybe I'll never pull it out of the pocket again, but maybe I'll look at it in a couple of years and somehow work with it. Now, it doesn't mean that I'll take that image and paint the same thing, but I'll probably pull the feeling out of this image and try and put it into something else. This is the really cool thing about being doing what I do, is that you have an excuse for research and stuff like this. And, yeah. So now that I've talked a little bit about why I do what I do, I'm going to talk a little bit about my process. This will be familiar to some of you because I wrote a blog, and there's some information in the blog about this, but I'll just recap it. So this slide shows something that captured my interest on the left, and it's in the rooms in Newfoundland, in St. John's, for my Newfoundland friend. It's a beautiful painting called Sunday Church, and when I saw this painting, I was so touched by it. It's just so lovely and serene, and it seemed to represent a time of like a simpler time, maybe, because she's just getting dressed up once a week to go to church, and I loved how it was painted. And when I took a picture of it, tucked that away, and anyway, when I got back, I'd forgotten about it. Oh, and I could have mentioned, the painting is by Helen Parsons Shepherd, and she was, what do they call it? Daughter of Newfoundland, I guess. And she's got an interesting backstory too, but you can research that on your own time. So I saw this painting, forgot forgot about it, but I had it on my phone. And months, maybe years later, I was looking through a family photo album, and I saw that photo, the black and white photo, and it was of my grandmother, and I thought, oh wow, look at her. My grandmother was a contemporary of Helen Parsons Shepherd, so that was an interesting coincidence. She was also kind of like a woman who did things her own way and not according to the custom of the times. So she was self-employed. She ran this little seamstress business. And anyway, so I was talking to her about my grandma with my mom, and we were talking about my grandma's house purse because she always had this. Well, you can see the photo of it here. That purse, and she used to make these purses, and she used to carry them with her wherever she went. So everyone would, oh yeah, there's Vivian, and she's the house purse lady. And I don't know why I made this connection between the painting by Helen Parsons Shepherd and my grandmother, but I thought, oh, I think I'm gonna do something here. So I decided to paint my grandmother with her house purse, but paying respect to Helen Parsons Shepherd's painting. So the palette is similar, and that's by design. You know, I put her in a camel coat. Grandma never would have wore a camel coat, she would have wore a fuchsia coat, but anyway, just, you know, I wanted to paint in the style of Sunday church. So my grandma was, I was telling my mom, oh, I'm doing this painting of grandma, and she's got this house purse, and my mom goes, did you know that she was buried in her house purse? And I went, like, oh, right, that's gold. And so I said, send me some photos, and so she did. And so that's the photo kind of by Newfoundland there, that's my mom's hand and my aunt's hand putting grandma in the purse. And then the other one, of course, is down the hole. But I'm just going to mention one more thing here. So you see in the black and white photo, my grandma's hands are like this. Well, I wanted the purse to be front and center, so I thought, I got a model here. She's right here, and so I set up the camera and held something that was arc-shaped. So the hands in the painting are my hands. Anyway, so that's pretty well all I was really going to cover. Just that so kind of to summarize, the works in the show they're inspired by my own story, but they don't have to be the story behind the work, if that makes any sense. Like today, we were sitting in there and Nikki was saying, oh, this is my story about that one, and Brian was saying, oh, well, this is my story about that one, and that's what I'm searching for, is for people to kind of make up their own narrative about the work. And yeah, so that's why I decided not to go into details about the paintings themselves, because I think it would just kind of rob them of their storytelling abilities. But yeah, so that's all. And if anyone has questions, seek me out.